Hey everybody, Brian here for Work to Game. This is my little Gubu, or my wife's actually. Got her for Christmas, but that's not what this video is about, so get out of here. All right, so today I wanted to talk to you guys about my thoughts regarding the video that Mr. Happy released regarding Yoshi-P's Spider-Man shirt. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll be sure to put a link, a little, I guess, card up there, and you should go check it out. So he kind of breaks down some of the various different community theories that people have been proposing about the Spider-Man t-shirt that Yoshi-P was wearing, teasing whatever the second new job for Stormblood is going to be. So this actually came to my attention from user, I'm just going to call you Sorrow X underscore Sorrow X. And they say, did you hear what Mr. Happy said about Yoshi-P's shirt? I pray that it will be Blue Mage. So I'm with you 100%. A lot of debate's been going on over the Stormblood video I posted. What is the second new job? And so this is going to pretty much be going on until obviously February, when we've got the next FanFest for Yoshi-P to confirm. So keep in mind, what I'm going to talk about is pure speculation. I'll see if I can get creative and put some kind of flashing light over my head right now, or some kind of just generic text, just to make sure the point is made. This is a speculation video. We're going to go off of what's been communicated, what we know about the world, and how it might actually play out. So with that, I wanted to talk to you guys about Blue Mage and really what I think about how that job would actually work in the world of Final Fantasy XIV, how it would play out, what type of role it would be, etc. So I'm interested also in your opinions about that job. So if it is Blue Mage that we'll be getting as the second new job for Stormblood, how is that going to work? So I do agree with Mr. Happy. He's thinking that it's going to be a tank, and that would make sense because Blue Mages learn their abilities from getting hit by the enemies, with the exception, if you look at the history of Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy VI, is you've got Gao, and he will go out and be with the animals for a while, be with the monsters, and then he would come back and having learned that ability. So it wasn't so much that he would have to get necessarily hit by the skill, but you would send him out in that particular area to get and farm those Blue Mage skills for him. So there is like precedence that it's not always about getting hit, but I'm going to think that the majority of people know that job from it obviously taking damage from a particular skill. So why is it going to be a tank? So I think that if you kind of look at a particular, like outside of getting hit, look at I guess like say a druid. So if we're going to look at other MMOs out there, and then other types of kind of lore and classes that exist. So a druid can take on various forms, especially more, or less animal, or in this case, various forms of beast or monster. And I think that, obviously them taking on these type of forms would give them the ability as a tank to actually add something to the current tanking world that we have. Obviously, we'd have a mage tank, a tank that's going to be obviously primarily a mage. But let's look at that. So you have Dark Knight, which is kind of an MP tank, but they're still heavily geared. But what we don't have, where actually Astrologian fills it in from a healer perspective, is the ability to kind of switch various forms and then take on that type of role. So here's what I mean by that. Let's say we had something like the bear form. This could kind of mimic our warrior that we currently have now, where they get the Blue Mage would have a high HP pool to use and pull from, and then various abilities associated with it, etc. So then we could even say, and if you wanted to go with how it exists now, you could have a lion form, which could be that of the paladin, or my wife was suggesting the adamantoise, the turtle. So it's like you have a huge ability for damage mitigation. So just between, let's say, those two forms, you now have introduced a mage tank that could mimic a kind of a paladin type tank, or that of a warrior type tank. So just like with Astrologian, you get into a party, oh, you have a white mage, well, maybe you'll go with damage mitigation. Oh, you have a scholar, maybe you'll go with the more healing over time abilities, depending on your stance. So you kind of have those forms there already present in the white mage world, where in the tanking world, okay, so you have two paladins. And at least with Heaven's Word, they were able to introduce more damaging abilities and different abilities to help that out. But just a general thought that I had about it. But there could be other forms that could really play into this Blue Mage. So like a dragon form, so something like that. Maybe it would mimic that of the Dark Knight, heavy MP usage, evasional or more magical type ability, attacks and things like that. So if you kind of think, this is how I'm thinking about it right now. So then coral form, maybe it would be some high speed mobility. And obviously you can see coral form right now in the monk. And somebody even suggested that maybe the Blue Mage would play out something like monk with the various forms based off your combos. And that could work, especially if it wasn't a tank, but thinking through of being able to switch out. And then I was like, Banner Snatcher or a Tiger for maybe a more high damage output. Whether you're off tanking or you're not needing to tank at that time and you want to do heavy damage, you could have some forms like that. And those quests might, those forms or those abilities could be something that are quested so that everybody has a natural inclination for that. And then you could see how maybe something like the way that ninjutsu works out with using certain skills would open up these various abilities you've learned. Who knows? Like this, again, we could go off on a completely, a rabbit, a black hole of ideas that might not ever even see the light of day. But those are just some examples regarding the forms that I think that they can be learned. So I was actually talking to Chris about this today, especially because he actually played a druid tank in World of Warcraft, and he thought, especially that his concern was sometimes that was actually very difficult, because while it was enjoyable for him as a druid tank, he eventually became unkillable, like for a certain part of the game, until I think they later came in and updated. So there's a balancing concern that could easily that Yoshi-P, that all of Square Enix would have to take into mind when creating a type of Blue Mage tank that could essentially mirror that of kind of a druid class that we don't really have in game right now, and etc. So the druid kind of idea I like, and I would think visibly would be really cool to see that represented with the, like, let's say whether it was a tank, we're going to still keep focusing in on Blue Mage as a tank, but if, for example, like you're in bear form or if you're in Animantoise form, that there is some visual representation to your character that is seen. One of the things that you have right now that's kind of a weakness is that whatever stance your warrior is in or your paladin is in, it's not visually represented to the player. Now, Dark Knights, when they're in their their stance, you can see that visually represented on them. And so it would be really interesting to see that with the tank, to be able to communicate, hey, this is the form I'm in because, of that type of druid. They are, not just using that blue magic, but it is such a part of them that it does change their look and feel with the game. And then the other thing is that you look at the history of Blue Mage kind of in the MMO space with Final Fantasy XI, is that as they learn those skills, you would actually be able to go out and and learn them, but then you would equip those abilities, and those abilities would then define your role. So playing off of what they said about Red Mage, and I'll be putting out a kind of a dedicated Red Mage speculation video here shortly this week. But with Red Mage being a hybrid, they say it's a hybrid job, so it's DPS focused. Well, thinking on hybrid, being able to take a job and be able to do multiple things with it, Blue Mage fits that really well, where if you equip certain abilities, or maybe they would have certain abilities that were pre-packaged for you, so you could equip your tank set, or you could equip your TPS set. I don't know, I mean, heck, you could even with Blue Mage maybe even have a healer set. Theoretically, if that was the case, and we only get 2 jobs with Stormblood expansion, and Blue Mage can fill all 3 roles based off of what they have equipped, you've essentially now given players 4 jobs with actually just releasing the 2. So you could have a Blue Mage fill 3 of the roles, while at the same time Red Mage focusing solely on damage. Obviously pure speculation, and I want to keep saying that because I'd hate for somebody to come back and get too excited about it. So Blue Mage as a tank would also then, it would present some issues. So let's talk about those issues and challenges that it would have right now. Obviously, all 3 tanks right now are very heavily geared with gear. Like the tank gear is, heavy armor. It's really based around vitality, second, by strength. All the tanks right now can currently equip it. Blue Mage would break that pattern. And I would like that personally. I like the idea of a mage tank. It's different. but Blue Mage would have a different, base stats that it would use. And I don't necessarily think that, we would want them to be in such heavily geared armor. Their damage mitigation, their survivability would be coming from the magic and be coming from the various forms that they take on. So visually that representation would be handled. But from a gear perspective, it's like Square Enix would have to kind of design around that so that if you are somebody who right now, like me, who's got all three as tanks, plays all of them, getting the gear and equipping it, that works well. But now Blue Mage would kind of break that. So then there would have to be something else that I would have to go out and grind in order to keep them up if I decided to play that. So gear's definitely going to be an issue that plays very interestingly into the job if it were to be released as a tank. As a mage, you already would have those existing gears, or maybe that would work just fine for them to be able to equip the damage dealing caster gear or healing gear, depending on what their stats are, etc. I mean, we could go back and forth on that, but the idea is that, well, okay, you're a mage, you can kind of equip that light based armor. Maybe this is where Red Mage, what are they equipping? That leather type, that lightweight, but it's still a little bit more protective than your particular robe would be for a black mage or summoner or something like that right now. So that's one of the challenges I see. I think, from a weapon perspective, the scimitar would work real well with it. Obviously another, sword base, but we could see that going interesting ways. The other perspective, though, is that the battle system, is changing with this. We don't know what that fully means yet. They didn't give out too much information in the keynote, so we'll have to see how that plays out and how that would be effective. So let's go and say this isn't Blue Mage. So what's pretty much the other option that people are heavily focusing on is Samurai. Does Samurai even need to be a tank? And that's something I wanted to talk to you guys about as well. Right now, the game currently, has, I think, a good balance of the tanks and the healers. Now, I think Blue Mage would fill in a role, like I said, where it would not necessarily be a carbon copy of any of the other classes out there, for especially as a tank or any type of, a true hybrid type job that, might be possible in the game. But I think that, that begs the question, and so I'm asking you guys as well, should Samurai, if it is the next job and not Blue Mage, be a tank, a dedicated tank? I think there are those out there that want the job enough to say, like, well, whatever gets me the job. But the question is, and so Square Enix actually tweeted this out, and Mr. Happy kind of covered it. They tweeted out that the Red Mage, one of the 2 new jobs for Stormblood, has been introduced. And then they deleted the tweet, kind of inferring that we might only get 2 new jobs. And so if that is the case, if we are only getting 2 new jobs, does it mean that one of them has to be a tank? And I would answer that question, no, absolutely not. You could introduce both Red Mage and Samurai, and at the same time, both of those being DPS-based classes, and I think I would be absolutely fine with that aspect. Yeah, we've got a lot of DPS classes, but the whole point of it is that I don't want them to introduce a class and put it into a role and it just be a carbon copy of anything else. Now, they could do Samurai, as a tank, and it could fill in that type of role. But my preference, especially after, watching Mr. Happy's video, and, I like my mages, I would love to see, I think Blue Mage would be something that is different, that kind of breaks the mold of that. I think Samurai, from a gear perspective, also would be a challenge. You could probably say, okay, they're going to have that tank style gear, but visually and aesthetically, I think that Samurai could be something that's a little bit visually different as well. But people say, oh, we need an evasion tank. Well, you need to play Dark Knight. Dark Knight can be that evasion tank for you. You just got to use the the skills in the right order. All right, so the question then is that, okay, was that tweet correct? Are we only getting 2 jobs? Is there still the chance that we would get 3 jobs? And if so, could that also mean that the Spider-Man t-shirt is the ultimate teaser of those 2 jobs, both Blue Mage and Samurai? I personally think that at some point, introducing 3 jobs every expansion, it's not only costly, it becomes a bigger challenge to keep that expectation going from 5.0 and 6.0 and and so on and so forth. As they said, they've already got plans through 5 and even 6.0 for Final Fantasy XIV at this time. So I don't, I think if you look at the current, jobs that we have, especially that they're going to go to 70 and then the next expansion, presumably 80, you do have a lot of versatility, and you can, I want to make sure that we're not negating all the current jobs as well with that. So I think personally, and to answer my own question, I think we're getting just 2 jobs this expansion. I was hoping that we might be able to get 3 from a budgetary perspective, but thinking about it, if they're always going to introduce 3 jobs, does it always have to be the Holy Trinity, or can they have a little bit more flexibility? Can we do 2 DPSs this time and a tank healer, next time, without the need to feel like you have to introduce a new DPS type of job? And with that, then we're looking at, does this make sense to have that samurai or that blue mage? But with the blue mage focus, I kind of covered what I think and how I think it would work. The core concept that I know a lot of people love for this role is the learning of those abilities. And I think that from a tanking perspective, again, it's about the forms. What form you're in determines what type of tank magically you're going to use. You're going to go learn those abilities. I think they should probably give some to you naturally that are going to help you kind of fill that in. I hope that we get to go out and hunt and learn those abilities, either via doing the dungeons or whatever, but that is still going to prove somewhat of a challenge. And you can easily see that if new players hop into that job at some point, there could be that discrepancy where if they haven't gone out and learned a specific ability, that the community could be very mad at them. Like, it would have to be some type of additional ability that didn't necessarily break their ability to hold hate or survive. But that in and of itself is a balancing nightmare that we could, in a speculation video, spend hours upon hours just going back and forth. So I want to kind of put it out to you guys, to the community right now. Does this mean we're only getting 2 jobs? Are we getting 3 jobs? Is samurai even still in play, or is blue mage such a way of distraction, or is it something different? Like I think Chris was making a joke, like, are we going to see a spider mage? Like, is it something that, like, is this the ultimate tease from Yoshi-P that has us going down these various branches, and then at the same time it's like, here's a new job that is new to Final Fantasy that we haven't really seen before? So I'm going to kind of leave it up to you guys to let me know what you think about that as well. So regardless, I'm excited. We've got the next FanFest in 2 months, so that's going to be in February in Frankfurt. That's in Germany. So any of our European audience, hope you guys have a fun time there. I think this was the best gift that Yoshi-P could really give us. Is I think Scarlet Witch was right on the nose. Everybody saw it and went red mage. Here we've got it really questioned it, made everybody kind of turn heads. I was watching the video with my wife, and I was like, what is this? I love that they're sticking with the with the Marvel theme. However, at the same time, this is a great sense of anticipation, and only time will really tell. So regardless, thank you, Yoshi-P. That is the best excitement that we've seen so far. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed anyway or yet, I believe that button below works pretty well. So hopefully you take advantage of that. We'd love to have you keep coming back. If you like this video, hit that like button. I also hear that the other button doesn't work so well if you didn't like this video, so you're welcome to use that at your own discretion. And yeah, so hopefully this was informative. Lots of excitement, a lot of things that we've got coming out for you this year. So thanks for making us actually over 500. So we've with the last video, thank you all to our new subscribers, and thanks to everybody who's already been here. So my name is Brian. This is Work to Game, and I'll see you guys hopefully in the next video. Take care.